annual holiday luncheon. Please be sure to mark that on your calendar, show up, eat a free lunch, meet some vendors, have some fun that day. The following Friday, which is Friday, November the 22nd, we're doing the blood drive and the food drive. I won't bore you with all the details, just want to remind you guys that that is going on. Be sure to put that on your calendar. I can tell you we're not having a lot of success with the blood drive. I think we're only about a third of the way to our goal. We've got like 30-something people signed up and we have 90-something slots. So I know we can do better than that. However, we strongly encourage you to consider giving blood. American Red Cross is hosting that for us, and that will be in this room. It's not at the library this year. So other than that, I want to thank Regions Bank for showing up again this month and doing our class on identity theft. Big thanks to Diane Spencer and her team in the back. Thank you guys for being here again. If you guys recall, they did our class a couple months ago to lead off this wellness year. I'll introduce both of our speakers today, who are Mr. Ed Stansberry and Ms. Paula Jarvis. Paula Jarvis serves as a branch manager for Regions Bank, currently managing the Hendersonville branch. She both lives and works in Sumner County. She has more than 19 years of banking and relationship management experience, and 10 of those years are with Regions. She has held every position within the branch, ranging from cash associate to branch manager. Paula has a bachelor's degree in journalism from the University of Memphis. She is passionate about financial education and truly loves bringing her banking knowledge to the community. Mr. Ed Stansberry has been with Regions Bank for 15 years and has served as the branch manager at the Glenbrook location for 8 years. He has more than 30 years of banking and financial management experience. Currently residing in Greenbrier, he still thinks of Hendersonville as his home. Ed has a bachelor's degree in business administration from Middle Tennessee State University. Ed loves building long-term relationships with his clients to help them reach their financial goals. So I will turn it over to you guys.
All right. Thank y'all so much for coming today. Thank you so much for being here and really spending a little time to invest in yourself. I also want to thank Shelley and Chris again and the City of Hendersonville for their continued partnership. We are certainly glad to be here presenting this information, this very valuable information to you. So today, just like last time, we're going to have 2 different forms of this seminar, so it's going to be a little unique in that we are going to have a recorded version, because I know not everybody can be here at this time for this live presentation, so we'll have a recorded version that will be available on the internet afterwards, and then of course we're going to have this live section here. We will do, in order, kind of a little housekeeping, we will do a live question and answer for our live audience right after this program, and we're also going to have a giveaway, and we'll go over that here in just a second. So I wanted to show you, and not everyone may have one of these in their chair. I kind of put these everywhere, so if you do not have one of these in your chair, there should be one pretty close to you. So if everybody has that, I just wanted to go over what is in this packet. Does everybody have one? Nobody left out? Okay. Yeah, I don't want you left out. There we go. Thank you. So just looking in this packet, first and foremost, we have what's called a financial wellness assessment. This is what we're going to use today to give away our prize, and our prize is very appropriate. We're giving away actually a shredder. So we're going to talk about financial information and the importance of shredding your documents today. So to kind of follow up with that, that's going to be our giveaway. So if you would, put your name, your phone number, and email on there so that we can draw for that. Also, this kind of gets us thinking today. You know, these classes and bringing the bank to you, it's all about giving you good, timely information, but also really to get you thinking about your finances. So we find that that helps you. There are 4 different categories on the sheet, ranging from everyday banking, savings plans, borrowing smarter, and unexpected events. So on here you may see things that Regions we don't even offer, like wills. We don't do wills, but they at least get you kind of thinking your mind in that process. So if you will, fill that one out for me. Next we have our handout. Very valuable information, and we really want to make sure that you have some takeaways today. So this is something that you're going to be able to take with you. And Ed is going to go over, I know, a lot of these different tips on ways to avoid identity theft. So very, very valuable information. Then you will see Gain Your Financial Knowledge. This basically talks about all of our online resources that we have available at Regions. And if you're familiar with Regions, financial education is in our DNA. We want to make sure that the public is educated. This talks about different sources that you have available to you, whether you're a Regions customer or whether you're not. So, for example, there are different articles on our Financial Learning Center talking about auto loans, checking accounts, estate planning. So any financial category you can think of is going to be included on here, and you do not have to be a Regions customer. Also, insights. So there are calculators in different classes that you can take online, and those are available. And then last but not least, this is the only thing on this page that you have to be a Regions customer for, and it's My Green Insights. And what that is that's some software that integrates your accounts so that it gives you specific information about your accounts and budgeting. All right? Then we have what we like to call our scatter map. As you know, here in Sumner County, we have 4 locations, 2 in Hendersonville and 2 in Gallatin. But this also talks about how accessible we are throughout Middle Tennessee. So I like to tell people, if you are in Nashville and you cannot find a Regions, you're probably not looking hard enough, because we are everywhere. So I like to show that. Once again, another takeaway. This talks about 6 ways to reduce credit card fraud, and we'll talk a whole lot about credit card fraud here in just a minute. But these are some tips and ways to protect yourself. And last but certainly not least, Military Appreciation Day. This flyer talks a little bit about we want to reward our military personnel and immediate families, and so Regions is going to pay for their admission to the Nashville Zoo on Sunday, November the 10th from 9 to 4. So, if you are active military veteran, please enjoy this on behalf of Regions. Thank you. Also, on this first one, I failed to mention, if you are a Regions employee, please go ahead and put a little R in the corner so that we can mark you as a Regions customer in the system. Okay? That just lets us know we have a partnership with the City of Hendersonville. All right. So on our next slide, this information is general in nature and is not intended to be legal, tax, or financial advice. Although Regions believes this information to be accurate, it cannot ensure that it will remain up to date. Statements or opinions of individuals referenced herein are on their own, not Regions. Consult an appropriate professional concerning your specific situation in irs.gov for current tax rules. And essentially what this slide is saying, everybody's financial situation is unique. So no one size fits all. So we're just going to kind of talk about identity theft on a general broad range, but of course you've got the financial wellness assessment that you're filling out. So if you have a question, something that maybe you don't want to share in front of the class, please write that question on there so that we can contact you and follow up with you and get your questions answered. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? Can everybody hear me all right? I just want to make sure. I'm good? Okay. So today we're going to talk about what are the common forms of identity theft, and there are many, and we see them on a day-to-day basis on our industry. How can you protect yourself from identity theft? So what can you do specifically to protect yourself? What if you're a suspect or a victim of identity theft? What if you suspect you're a victim of identity theft, excuse me? What should you do if your wallet or purse? Not that you're doing identity theft. We're not going to go over that portion right now. We're not going to tell you how to do it. Sorry about that. What do you do if your wallet or purse is stolen? I know first you go in panic mode, but what do you really do after that? And then how can you be prepared in advance for emergencies such as identity theft or storms, tornadoes? I mean, we don't have any tornadoes in this area, do we? I mean, things like that happen. So, all right. So knowing how it's done. So what is identity theft? I know it's just a general overall term, but really it's when someone takes your personal information and they want to gain benefit from it. So some examples, we talked about it earlier. Stealing your wallet or your purse. And we see that. We see car break-ins, we see wallets, purses stolen. So I want to give you a little food for thought. And you don't have to answer this out loud, this is just really for you to think. If you were to lose your wallet or your purse right now, could you tell me every card that's in your wallet? Could you lock, good, I see some yes. Good, could you lock them down? Could you call that company? Do you have the resources to do that? Because when I ask that question, many people don't. They're like, oh my goodness, I think my Lowe's card's in there, I think my Visa's in there. So, just a tip, making sure that you know what's in there so that you can quickly call the companies and let them know it's lost or stolen. It's very, very important. Also, your Social Security card, please know if you carry your Social Security card, that's something that I would advise against, making sure that's it in a safe place, because that's not something you want someone to have your driver's license information, a couple of your credit cards, and then the cherry on top is they have your Social Security card. So please make sure that is in a safe place. All right, some other ways that identity theft happens: stealing mail. What's on a checking account statement? Your name, your address, the account number. So there is a lot of very important information. And in your mailbox, is it locked? I mean, it's not. So just making sure that you're keeping that information, making sure that you're getting your mail timely. If you're out of town, making sure someone's getting that for you. Or what a lot of my customers opt for is they opt for online statements. They don't want these things in the mail. All right. Completing a change of address. Sometimes we see that. The fraudsters will actually change the address on some of your cards or your accounts so that therefore they're in the driver's seat. They're in control. They're getting that mail. So those are just a couple of quick examples of how it's done. So we have the basic information as far as identity theft. It's technically defined as the illegal use of someone else's personal information, such as a Social Security number, in order to obtain money or credit. So what is the impact of identity theft? This is coming from an Experian article, and it's 5 hidden costs of identity theft. Because I know we talk about identity theft, it's a very stressful thing. First and foremost, the time spent dealing with identity theft. And I have been doing this a long time, and I have seen a lot of people have had stolen identities. Would it surprise you to know that it takes an average of 6 months to clear something like that up? That's just an average. Roughly 200 hours of work to correct that. So that's time. Time is precious. Time's something you can't ever get back. So that's time maybe away from your job, time away from your family, your friends, the things you love to do, to try to write something. So the number one thing on its impact is really the time. Possible arrest. So if someone's doing criminal activity in your name, there's possible ramifications for you. So if you find that your Social Security number or something has been compromised, you want to make sure that you are alerting the bank, filing a police report, doing all of those right things. Lower credit scores, that's another impact this can have. So until you can get that fixed, which, like we talked about, 6 months, 200 hours worth of work, it can impact your credit score. And I know we do these seminars a lot, and we talk about the importance of credit score, because credit score saves you money in the long run. The higher the credit score, the lower the rate. The lower the credit score, usually the higher the rate. Kind of an inverse relationship. Emotional distress, it's very stressful. If you've ever worked with somebody or known somebody that's had identity theft, it's a stressful situation. So that alone is a huge impact that identity theft has. And monetary loss. So if you don't report it timely, if you wait too long, it's possible to be on the hook for a certain amount. 40% of identity theft victims still incur out-of-pocket expenses required to recover their identity. So the average person, and this is on average according to the Federal Trade Commission, is about a little over $600. So that's money out of your pocket. All right, so let's talk about some common forms of identity theft. And I have to say, being in banking as long as I have and seeing the different trends, we have a whole lot of very smart people out there. They are very, very good at what they do. And some of the sites that they do are very realistic. So we talk about phishing. Phishing, with a PH, is basically they're fishing for information, just like you would think reeling you in. What they do is they send you an unsolicited email, and it looks really good. It looks like it's from a legitimate source. They want you to basically click on the link and go to their website and put in information. Hey, you've been locked out. Go ahead and reset that password for me. Or, your debit card's been compromised. So, clicking on a link, giving them information, so therefore they can use it to fraud you. Then we talk about vishing. That's just where you get an email or a fax, but they want you, unlike clicking on a website, they want you to call them back. I got a message the other day on my voicemail from a bank I have never banked with before, and they said, you know what, Paula, your debit card's been compromised. You need to call this number. I deleted it. I've never banked with them. So, just be mindful. If it's not where you bank, recommend calling the bank, looking them up on Google and actually calling a branch and saying, hey, I got this call. And more than likely, they're aware of the scam going on. Smishing. Smishing is a cell phone text, and it's asking for information, personal information. Farming, another form, is basically going to bogus websites. And then we have skimming. And skimming is one that I'm very, very familiar with. Has anybody heard of skimming devices? Okay. Has anybody ever Googled and kind of looked to see what one looks like? They're pretty good. So what that is that's a device that goes over. So if you pay at the gas pump and you put your card in, it's a device that goes over where you slip your card that can read that information. So therefore, they can create another card and use that to fraud you. So, I always tell people when you use a gas pump, just making sure that you're pulling on it, you're looking at it, making sure that it doesn't look odd. I know now with the tap and pay, that's something that the banks are doing now to kind of try to stay ahead of the skimming devices. That's where you'll tap your card and you pay that way. So we don't have to actually put it through the machine. So we are trying as a banking industry to stay ahead of the fraudsters as much as we can. All right. So now we're going to talk a little bit about identity theft. So this is where your handout's going to come into play that's in your packet. And Ed is going to come up and talk about some different ways to help you avoid identity theft. Ed?
Thank you, Paula. So we're going to start on this side of it, how to avoid identity theft. And we're going to start with number one, protecting your personal information. This is probably the most important thing you can do to avoid identity theft. If they don't have your information, it's hard to do identity theft against you. So the first point there is never provide information in response to an unsolicited phone call, fax, letter, or email. Like Paula went over, if you get an email from a bank saying, go to this website and log on. Usually it's somehow they figure out it's like if you bank at Regions, they'll send you a website that looks like Regions. You put in your ID, your password, and they have that information, so then they can log on. So the best thing in that situation is to contact your financial institution yourself, go to a branch, call the 800 number on your card, or look it up online. The second one, and this lady here, the one that Paula just got rid of there, is the be mindful of those who may be shoulder surfing while you're in ATM or otherwise banking. I had a customer yesterday, and she told me, she goes, I was at a gas station, a local gas station, and she said somebody was there talking to her, and she noticed that he was trying to see what number she is. So she came and talked to us about it. So it does happen quite often. So if you're using a pin pad or putting in information, try to use your offhand to cover it up. And Paula went over this also. Carry only your necessary identification, credit cards or debit cards. No need to carry them all with you. Keep the ones you carry are going to use most of the time. The rest, including your Social Security card, leave at home. If they have that Social Security number and all the other information in your wallet, they have all they need. Next, do not pre-print your Social Security, phone, or driver's license number on your checks. This used to be a big thing back in the old days to have all the information there because they'd want all this information when you went to buy something at the store. Now, if they need a phone number, they can write it on there, but most times they don't need it anymore, and if they have that information on your check, it's easy for them to copy or even sell it online to identity thieves. Number 2, protect your incoming and outgoing mail. How secure do you feel your mail is today? In the branches, we're seeing an increase now of washed checks, and what that is or they get a check out of your mailbox that you're sending out for bills, and they use chemicals and they'll erase who it's made to, and sometimes the amount, if it's not a big amount, and they'll make it out to themselves. They come into the branch, it's made out to them, and for a large amount, and we end up cashing it because we can't tell. Somehow they come up with a way that they can get rid of that ink really easily. So here's some tips for incoming mail. Use a locked mailbox if possible, or other secure location. Some people use post office. There's other locations that have secure mail. And quickly remove any delivered mail, or move your mailbox to a safer place if you can. A lot of places require it by the road. Some people still have them by their front doors. And if you're out of town, have a friend or family member collect your mail if you're away, or you can have the post office even hold your mail while you're gone. So for outgoing mail tips, deposit your mail directly into a Postal Service blue collection box, or hand it to a mail carrier yourself, or take it to the post office yourself. And avoid putting up that little red flag on your mailbox if you've got outgoing mail. I know it's tough, but that's how, when they're driving by looking for mailboxes to hit to get information, they see that red flag up, they know where to go to get your stuff. Number 3, sign up for direct deposit. This is an easy one to help yourself. Instead of worrying about a check coming in the mail, it shows up in your account every payday. And you do not have to worry about somebody getting your check, coming to the bank, cashing it. They're very good at making fake driver's license these days. If they have your name, they can make your driver's license. It's very easy. Number 4, on the right-hand side of the page, keep your financial trash clean to avoid dumpster divers. And dumpster divers are people, they'll go pick up your trash. If you've got it in the front yard, they'll take it and they'll look for things such as tax returns that you've thrown away, credit card bills, bank statements that you haven't shredded with a nice, like the nice shredder we're giving away, and that's a cross-cut shredder, which is safer than just a regular shredder. It cuts them into tinier pieces where they can't read it. But just make sure, don't just throw your stuff away. Look at what you're throwing away, because people still do that. Number 5, keep a close watch on your bank account statements and your credit card bills. I'm just going to ask rhetorically, when did the last time you checked all your statements? Make sure, the sooner you can catch fraud, the easier it is for you, or identity theft. So monitor your statements each month. I say more often than that, and contact your financial institution immediately if there's any discrepancies that you notice. And while federal and state laws may limit your losses, if you're a victim of fraud or theft, to fully protect yourself, you need to report the problem in a timely manner. Like I said, the quicker you can get it to your bank or financial institution, the easier it is for them and for you, and it also limits your losses. And if your bill doesn't arrive on time, contact your financial institution also. We've caught many times people come in and say, I didn't get my bank statement. Well, let's check your address, and we find their address has somehow been changed. So that's something might be going on. We research and see how it was changed, and sometimes it was just a mix-up, but sometimes it could have been identity theft. So it gives us something to look at. Number 6, avoid identity theft on the internet, which is a very big one these days. Like Paula said before, never provide your bank account or other personal information in response to an unsolicited email or when visiting a website that does not explain how personal information will be protected. She gave an example of this when you get an email and they just do it at random. They'll pick any bank, like we're popular in this area, so they'll just send emails out to every email address they have, and you happen to be a Regions customer, the email will say, your account's been locked, go to the, click here to go to our website and log back on and reset your credentials. Well, we'll never send an email. Banks won't send an email, or financial institutions saying click here to go. They'll ask you to log on to their the website, regions.com or wherever you bank, go there or contact them directly to say, hey, is something wrong with my account? Because it's more than likely they're trying to get your information. If you believe the email is fraudulent, consider telling the Federal Trade Commission. I'm going to go over that a little bit on the back section of this. If you do open and respond to a phony email, contact your financial institution immediately. Again, the quicker we know, the quicker we can help you and limit the losses. And number 7, we went over this in our last seminar a couple months ago, and I believe the information is still on your intranet. Review your credit report at least once per year. We recommend maybe 3 times a year, one from each credit bureau, and report any fraudulent activity. We went over again, you can spot on your credit report if there's something you don't know what it is from somewhere you don't bank at or have a credit card with maybe, and also who's pulling your credit. That might be an early indicator of somebody has your identity. All right, on the next page, we're going to go over what to do if you have been a victim of identity theft. And if anybody has any questions, we're going to take them afterwards, so write them down or remember them. We'll be glad to go after this is done. So if you're a victim of identity theft, take action immediately. File a police report. Get a copy of that police report so you have proof that it's happened to you. Next, you want to contact your creditors, finance companies, your bank, and ask to speak to somebody in the security department or fraud department. If you're going to your local branch, we know how to handle and where to get you to. If you're calling online, they have specialized personnel to handle that for you. Next, follow up in writing and include copies of supporting documents. Ask your institution for verification that dispute accounts have been closed and fraudulent debts discharged. Next, if you're a victim of identity theft, you can file a complaint with the FTC, and their website is down there, identitytheft.gov, and there's a phone number also. There's a few reasons you want to do this. One, it gives you can, if your social security number has been stolen, there's a link you can click on. It'll tell you all the steps you need to take if your social security number has been stolen, how to get it rectified. And also, you can file a report here that will let you go to the credit bureaus and they can lock your account up. And I'll go over that in the next section a little bit more. So what do you do if your purse or wallet has been stolen? While this is not high-tech identity theft, there are still people out there who can ruin your day by lifting your wallet or stealing your purse, and we see it every day in the branches, especially with purses. They like to go to the local YMCAs or places like that and lift ladies' purses. So try not to leave them in where they're visible. Take them with you. Consider leaving them at home and just taking what you need with you at that time period. So the first step, if your wallet's lost or stolen, or your purse, is to, again, file a police report so you have record and proof. Cancel all your credit cards. That's where it came into play when Paula said, hey, do you have a list of your cards at home with the phone numbers who to contact, because you won't have them anymore. Report your loss to the bank or financial institution so we can get to work on it and get you new cards, get you new accounts if needed, help you out that way. Next, place a fraud alert on your credit report. This is where you might need the identity theft report you got from identitytheft.gov, because you need to place an initial alert on your account where people cannot pull your credit without your permission, and that lasts for 90 days. If you have the report from identitytheft.gov, you can get an extended alert for 7 years for free, and they will freeze your credit report for 7 years. The next one on this list is a security freeze, and in last year it became, anyone can do this now. You go to the 3 different websites. They got their phone numbers there, but if you just put .com on all those, it'll be their website. And you just type in freeze, and it'll bring you where you can freeze your account indefinitely until you lift it. So if you go put freezes on them, nobody can pull your report unless you unfreeze it, which usually takes 1 to 2 business days. So if you're going to go shopping for a car, starting to look at a house, you might want to go in there and unfreeze it before you go, because they might not be able to pull your credit report until you do that. And also, they made it where you can do it for your children under 16, which we've seen an uptick in people stealing even 10-year-olds' Social Security numbers. They will do it. They'll start opening credit cards, getting loans, buying cars, whatever they can do with that information. And next, if one of your checks was stolen, you may want to contact one of the check verification companies to let them put an alert on your account there. And those two numbers are listed there. It's Telecheck and Certegy. Those are the two major ones. And that concludes this portion. What I'm going to do is hand it back over to Paula to go over what to have ready in case of an emergency.
All right, Ed, some very valuable information there. So what do you do if there's an emergency? You know, emergencies happen. I mean, we see natural disasters happen. I mean, they can happen at any time. So it's very, very important that important documents, you have a good place to store them. Whether it be a safe in your house, I know there are safe deposit boxes at branches that, people or banks that people can utilize, but all of that really gives you peace of mind. So you know that if an emergency happens, I've got somewhere that I've got these documents in case they're needed. So just making sure that you have them. So what to keep and where to keep it. And all of these point towards basically a lock safe or a safe deposit box, but think about some things that you would need. So if there were a tornado and your house were destroyed or a fire, I mean, what would you need? Phone numbers, account numbers, maybe a little cash in case there are power outages, ATM debit cards, forms of your ID, safe deposit box keys. Sure, you'd want that to be able to access your safe deposit box if you have it somewhere. So just making sure, this class is all about thinking about, if something were to happen, what's important to you. So you want to make sure. So congratulations. I know we've left lots of time for question and answers. And usually with this seminar, we have quite a few questions on this. But what we've really talked about today and what you've gained is you've got a good understanding of what identity theft is. You know how to protect yourself. You know what to do if you're a victim, what to do if your wallet or purse is stolen, and how to prepare in advance. So all of these things are really, really critical. So what we are going to do now, this is going to conclude the tape portion, and we are going to now go to the live Q&A, and then we are going to do our drawing as